Happens every time I had the microphone muted. Hey, beautiful people, and welcome to the 10 Year Soul podcast. I'm Nakita, your host and inner voice transformation coach. Each week, we'll explore how to overcome negative thinking, transform our inner dialogue, and grow in purpose, confidence, and faith. Along the way, you'll hear inspiring conversations and practical tools to help you move forward with power because what you water grows. Let's tend our soul. Today, our guest is Lu Bennett, a Christian rap artist, songwriter, licensed minister, and youth Bible teacher whose life and music are rooted in faith, purpose, and transformation. From overcoming personal challenges to using his gifts to inspire others and ministry. Through ministry, Lou is making an impact both nationally and internationally. I'm excited for him to share his story and wisdom with us today. Let's welcome Lou Bennett. Hello, how are you doing this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are?
Oh yeah, it's definitely afternoon on the East Coast. We're doing great. How about you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for um, joining. Thank you so much for doing this interview. I greatly appreciate it. We are not going to delay. I'm going to get my notes together and we're just going to go ahead and get started. I want to, again, thank you so much for joining. Your story is one of resilience, faith, and purpose. And I know our listeners are going to be encouraged by this conversation. So, again, we're just going to jump right in. So, you grew up in church, but your musical journey began with secular rap. Can you take us back to that season of your life and share uh, what was shaping your mindset at that time?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's see. Initially, I had some older friends in the neighborhood. My parents are divorced. There's an amicable divorce, and I'm
Okay.
grateful for that. But anyways, my mother, her neighborhood that she lived in Lexington, which is where I was born initially, and then I ended up migrating to Frankfurt with my dad who grew up there. But on weekends, I would go to see my mom, and so I had some friends there that were a little older, a couple years older than me, 2 or 3 years older, and they were rapping and doing like shows around the city and stuff here and there. And so
Hmm.
one day they invited me to the studio. We usually just play basketball together, but one day they was like, you know what? Like, we talked about favorite rappers and stuff, so they invited me to the studio. So one thing led to another, and now I'm rapping, and now we're
Okay.
going to raves together and opening for other artists, and then eventually, this led to me being able to open where I lived in Frankfurt at a HBCU for some big time secular artists at the time. And so my mindset around that time, I had a studio at the house. I was recording. My dad's the pastor, so I was recording at the house. I would just like try to be quiet on certain parts and like turn the vocals down or turn the vocals up when I mix them. My music it wasn't like extremely explicit or nothing like that. Just
Hmm.
I was talking about some themes and things that my dad probably wouldn't approve of. His 15-year-old son, disgusting. So yeah, there was that. So I mean um, at the time, I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't know how to rap about Christ and make it dope.
Hmm.
I really just didn't know how. And so everything came full circle, but I have no regrets. I'm grateful for that experience because now I actually mentor a lot well, not a lot, but several
Hmm.
young artists and creatives and kind of help them and even some people older than me and just help them redirect their content and their subject matter and their inspiration or their why. When we really talk about that and break it down, they see how their why well, I didn't think it was all religious and about God and stuff, but when they think about their why, they're like, it is spiritual. So I'm like, do you go to church? You believe in Jesus? And they're like, yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm like, then that's your why, man. So it's okay to just rap about same stuff you're rapping about from that lens. So
I like that what you just said about um, basically changing your perspective. Like you said, wrapping from that lens that you don't
mhm,
have to. I think a lot of times, I say this all the time, we think, oftentimes Christians think they can't do certain things um, because they are Christian, but it's not that all you have to do, you have to look at your why behind it. What is your motive? What are, why are you doing it? And then go from there. And if you have that purity in your heart of why you're doing it, then it's gonna get to who it needs to get to, and it's gonna deliver what it needs to deliver. I like that. And I also like the fact that you've gone back, that you're reaching back and mentoring other people who want to get into this space, and not being selfish with it, because that happens sometimes too. People want to be selfish with the gift that they have and not share. But it's enough, as they say, it's enough for everybody to eat. So it's enough for
Definitely
everybody.
is. Definitely
It-
is.
yeah, to
And,
be
and
able to.
there's some things that, of course, like, have to change when you know better. Like if you
Right,
went
right,
to
right.
jail for robbing some people, okay,
Hmm.
well, you could talk about how you learned from that experience and how God
Right.
brought you through it. Don't talk about how you proud. Yeah, I'm a robber. Like no,
Right, right.
gotta switch some things. Yeah.
Right. That's good. So our next question is this. During your senior year of college, you experienced a traumatic event that led to depression and suicidal thoughts. What helped you navigate that dark season? And what would you say to someone who may be struggling silently today?
Mm, great question. Yeah. So I I actually now have acquired an MDiv in pastoral counseling, and that transcended from my experiences because during this time I had not done any counseling or been in therapy whatsoever. The only thing that rooted me and grounded me was my faith. And
Mm-hmm.
so I rededicated my life. I got rebaptized for a second time. And that's not, going through the motions like, oh, it's about that time, get another dip. Nah, it's not even like that. It's more so I wanted to make a public statement. I know there were people watching me. There's people that knew I was a pastor's kid, things like that. So I wanted to make that statement like, hey, of course, I know that some people are familiar with what's going on in my life. I've had some shortcomings. I've done some things. Nobody's perfect. So I want to make this public declaration, rededicate my life. So I would say it's just very important to get to the root of whatever you're dealing with and recognize that no matter how much uh, clinical assistance you receive, that we are all spiritual beings. And
Mm-hmm.
so they have to work in tandem. So it doesn't mean that you have to seek a Christian therapist. I'm not saying that. You can, if you prefer just in that time, when you're sitting down on the couch or a chair
Mm-hmm.
and just chopping it up with your therapist, venting and things, if you prefer them to be more clinical and just focus on that, don't bring up scripture to me, that's fine. But then in your time, you need to allow God to speak to you and pray and study and allow everyone should have a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
All everyone needs someone to pour into them. And so making sure that you're around people that can help you through that time and won't judge you, for whatever you're going through.
That's good. You mentioned about that you don't necessarily have to have a Christian therapist or counselor. And that's interesting because I cannot remember who the person was, terrible. But I can remember the interview. I was watching an interview. I think it was Willie Moore Jr. that did the interview. And the woman that he was interviewing said something to that effect, that she has different therapists. She has a Christian therapist and she has one that's I, I guess you say not a Christian therapist, because she needs both perspectives. Sometimes she needs that Christian therapist to, reel her back in, give her some word, and get put on that foundation. And then sometimes she needs the other one, and so that is very interesting that you said that. Sometimes you need to have uh, both perspectives, right? Because oftentimes we're so uh, heaven minded that we're no earthly good, and we're so earthly minded that we're no heavenly good, and there's got to be a balance, and we've got to figure out what that balance is. And if you need to seek the therapy, but be sure that you're doing it properly so that you can actually be effective. And I think that's what happens sometimes, is that people seek therapy, but then you're like, you need to get a refund from those people that you went to see.
Right. They didn't help you too much now, did
They
they?
didn't help you too much. So yeah, it's you gotta even in that, you gotta have some wisdom. You gotta ask the Lord, give me enough clarity to figure out who I need to seek out. and what I
Yes.
need to tell be truthful, help me to be truthful with them when I go to see them, because that's another thing. But that's another story for another time.
It's the
So
scripture. Yeah. Bible says, seek first his righteousness, seek God first in all things.
right. And
Absolutely.
right. And then all these things. So the title of this podcast is 10 of Your Soul. So looking back, what were your weeds, or what weeds did God have to uproot from your life before you could fully walk in your purpose?
Mm, great questions. Wow, never been asked this. So, weeds in my life. Well, weed was one of them, actually. Absolutely. Yeah, it was in college. Yeah, I did that a lot daily.
Hmm.
And see, I'm not gonna demonize things that can have some additional or some type of positive effect. Because, like, Tylenol, ibuprofen, you could overdose on something that you can get at a store. You could just go in
Hmm.
and if you want to, you could take five and it says take two, and then you have a drink or something, and then boom,
Right.
your system didn't process properly. And so, you know, um, all things have their place. It's legal in a lot of places now. So I mean, if you handle that recreationally or medicinally in a way that it's not an idol, and you do it in times where you're not causing others to stumble, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like,
Hmm.
somebody has told you, hey, I don't like being around that, or hey, like, I appreciate, and then you're still doing it around them, and you call yourself a Christian, well, then that's where it's like, okay, you're allowing this thing to become an idol, you know?
Hmm.
If you go on a date with your wife here and there, and you choose to have some wine, or you choose to, have a gummy or something. I mean, that honestly, that's your business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not making it a idol. If you're not doing it like every day, or you're not a different person without it. But what I will say is that when you're doing it every single day and multiple times every single day, you're thinking about it. You're scrambling to find money when you run out of it, like that's the issue, you know,
Hmm.
because you're making it a god in your life at that point. You really are. So God had to wrought that out of me because it was definitely an idol in my life. Um, Partying in general, I used to party a
Hmm.
lot. So that was something, just it's not that I never go out with my friends or anything, but I'm just I have discernment, very controlled. I'm not going out just anywhere. I'm not ever going to uh, impede upon my witness and be acting out of character or get
Hmm.
myself in a situation where I'm acting out of character. So and then I would say like pridefulness, like, even like admitting things like this, because nobody's perfect. And so, there's teenage boys that need to hear somebody like me. I do a lot of shows in the community, so they need to hear me being honest about this. And like, man,
Right.
I never heard somebody, you know, cool or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
just, not, uptight and trying to teach me about it, actually just be honest and transparent talking about
Right.
that, and it's like, yeah, man, like, and then also, man, it affects your emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
So, I had, like I said, the pridefulness, like I had to like recognize those some things from my childhood and things that I thought a certain way, things like that weren't marriage material, and it was
Hmm.
affecting how me and my wife interact and how we parent together, how we coexist together, and
Hmm.
there were some things, I was doing. I recognized, okay, I need to work through this so I can be the best leader and not only lead, but that I can submit as well at times and let her lead. So, yeah, those are the main things I would say, like pridefulness and like things that were just a waste of my time because God has called me to this purpose. And, that's no disrespect to anybody that's in a different
Right.
place with that, but this is just my walk and what God had to deal with me on. So,
Right. You said several things, and one of them was about like the partying, that you still go to parties, you just know how to the word escaped me I wanted to use, but you know how to temper it. There you go. You know how,
mm,
you don't do it in excess, right?
right.
And I think, and I also love the fact that what you said about when you speak to the younger people, that you're honest with them, because that's the other thing. I think that's why so many young people are not Not a lot of them, but why so many of them, I guess you could say, have turned their back on the church or don't want to go to church because there's no honesty there. There's no transparency. There's no, it's just this is it. But then you're going home and doing something totally opposite. So
Yeah,
how can you teach them if you don't? It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be honest about a struggle that you had, even if you
right.
still have the struggle. Of course, we know we got to be careful who we tell our things to because
Hmm.
some people weaponize it. We know that. But if you don't tell the young people, this is what I've been through, this is how I overcame it, they won't know, oh, there's somebody that maybe that went through what I'm going through right now. So they can have a real life example of how to overcome it. Because how can you overcome it if no one tells it? So
Right.
I love that. I really do. I love that. So with all of that, how do you prioritize self-care? It's something that I always say that self-care is not selfish because sometimes if you
Mhm.
can't take care of you, how can you take care of somebody else? So how do you prioritize self-care?
Yeah, self-care is huge, huge. So I go to the gym uh, multiple times, 4 to 6 times a week,
Mhm.
just depending on, what my schedule looks like. So that's very important. My wife and I, we have a vacation bank where we have a budget that
Okay.
we do our best to not go over, but whether it's a bunch of small weekend getaways,
Mhm.
just sometimes just us, sometimes with other couples, or if it's big 1 or 2 big trips, we just make sure we don't go over that budget.
Mhm.
And we haven't always done this, but this is where we've gotten to after we're going on 7 years of marriage. So this is where we've gotten to
Okay.
at this point.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Absolutely.
I love
So
that.
thank you. I appreciate it. So that's important though. A lot of times people think that like, oh, you splurge and you going out there, party and stuff like that. More Christians would not get divorced if they lived a little bit. Let's be real,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
Nobody's telling you to go out here and just let yourself go and just do
Mhm.
God knows what. No, but having a little fun, it is good for the soul. It really is.
Right. Right.
So you gotta live a little bit. And then I would say as well, just hanging out with my guys sometimes,
Mhm.
we get away from our wives and we just have guy time, whether that's we,
Mhm.
go shoot ball and go to the
Mhm.
gym or we just go grab some wings, watch the game or something. That's important, you know. Talking about, being fathers with other men,
Mhm.
with our wives not present is different
Right.
conversation than having
Right.
that conversation with our wives. And
Mhm.
you know, it just is what it is. So these things are important. And then yeah, I mean that's honestly the big ones. Then I would say too, like just taking care of yourself. Like getting a massage, keeping your nails cut, making sure you wash your face, like just taking care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
these things are important. We overlook this sometimes, but it's like no, man, how you feel and look like that
Mhm.
affects like how you act and interact with other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I watch there's a show called The Chosen, which is really good. Not
Yes,
sure if you
love
see it.
that show.
I love it. I
Yes,
cannot wait for the new season. They playing in our face, but I
I
can't
need to
wait for the
finish
new
it. I thought,
season. It is really good. But I mentioned it because of several things that you said. I and I talk about this all the time that I don't understand why we call ourselves Christians, which means we're followers of Christ, but we really do not follow him in totality. And this is one space
mm,
I think that we really don't follow him in as the self care part. There are several
mhm,
examples, and I won't go down too far down the road in it. But one, he went to pray by himself because he needed to
mhm,
regroup after he'd been around all those people, he needed to regroup. That's a form of self care. If you
yeah,
go to be with yourself, to journal, to even just lay on your bed, close your eyes, and just think, or even just to lay there just for a minute to still yourself.
breathe.
It's okay to do that. That's a form of self-care. Um, Going and hanging out with he had 12 disciples. That was his boys. He
It's
talked to them.
boring.
That was his
So
boys. He
funny.
talked to them about the things, whatever they were. The people got on his nerves, whatever it was. That's who those were the people that he picked to be those that were gonna his iron to sharpen him. So if Jesus
Mhm,
had people to iron his iron to sharpen him, why don't you think you need some people to sharpen you? Because that's what you just talked about with you when you go with your friends and you talk about being husbands and fathers and all the things. That's iron sharpen iron. You got your group. right? So if Jesus did that, then why wouldn't you do that? The other thing is when you go, you're saving to go on the vacations. Like you said, people think that you have to have this extravagant thing. No, there's booking.com. Go on there and get you a discounted room. Go away for
Right.
the weekend, leave on Friday evening, come back on Sunday afternoon. You have you
Absolutely.
just need time to get away. And it's okay to do that again. What did Jesus do? He went away by himself. It just
He
so
did.
happens that you're going away with your spouse.
Absolutely.
So
And he turned water to wine at a wedding. So
at
it's
a
like,
wedding.
at the time of celebration, he fostered the opportunity for them to enjoy some wine. So it's like, there is a time
Exactly.
and a place, a season for all things.
Thank you.
You know what I'm
It
saying?
doesn't mean
You
you have
shouldn't
to
be
get
just be
drunk.
drinking wine every day after work.
Right, just
But
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Until you're in a stupor. That's not the thing. It's okay to do that. And then that was the other thing I was gonna say, and I'm glad you mentioned that he went to the wedding, and I'm sure he went to more weddings than that one, but he was always going to somebody's house to eat. That's
mhm,
fellowship. And it wasn't just in church. And I don't know, that I think that's the thing that I think that we as Christians are in that season where God is trying to show us that it's more than just those four walls. Yes, we need to get out. We need to do for the widow, the orphan, the unhoused, and all the things, but also fellowshipping with each other in different environments. That is more than just that one space.
go play top
Because
golf together. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Get out of church. You
get
know,
out of church.
the
It's
church is
okay to
in
go to
you.
church.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Let some people in the community hear y'all open talk about God and be like, y'all go to church or something.
that,
I ain't
right.
been in years. Opportunity right there. You know?
Opportunity. And
Yep.
even if they don't come to church with you, they say, you know what? I can believe in God. I
Mhm.
can be follow Christ and I can still do me. You know what I mean? In a way that's not hurting anybody. Be that example. And even you tell them, you know what, you don't want to, come to church. Hey, we do this on Wednesdays. You come join us and and then you can develop that. So I
Yep.
love that. I love that. Um, so how did your inner dialogue change from the person you were before your depression to the man you are today?
Inner dialogue. Yeah. So, I used to feel like, um, before I dealt with some things in therapy, that because, my parents couldn't work things out and stay together, that I was destined for the same thing. I'm only gonna get it right on the second time around. There's no way I'm gonna be able to get it right first time. This is a generational curse that is just going to plague me. And I don't fault my parents. They've talked to me about it, and they were both young, and they just didn't see eye to eye on some things, and because they were so young, they just couldn't recover from
Mm-hmm.
just some of the instances where they butt heads and things like that. And hey, it happens. I'm talking like real young. They were like early 20s. Um,
Oh wow.
so they were just really young, and yeah, it just didn't work out. I get it. It's but for me to play victim and just allow that to plague me, that's where I realized, it was affecting my marriage because that mentality was
Mm-hmm.
unhandled, untreated. And so now that I've been in therapy and it's been treated, I tell myself that, like, when I feel moments where, because I used to be, anytime my wife and I had a disagreement or argument, like my mind would tell myself, like, yeah, like, like it's not gonna work, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just go ahead and, find a plan B, like it's not gonna work. Like, you only been married this amount of time, like you're gonna get divorced. Like my mind really used to tell me that, and it was
Mm-hmm.
scary. And I used to like go for a drive and stuff, even though she wanted me to not leave the house when we were arguing and things like that, or disagreeing. And I just recognized that, like, after being in therapy, my therapist really broke it down to me. He's like, hey, like, you don't have to listen to that. Like, tell yourself, and we worked on some things. And one of them was like, when there's a disagreement, it's not the end of the world. You
Right.
know, I don't have to, I don't have to foster escapism because things aren't going smoothly in the conversation. It's
Mm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
It's okay to ask for a minute and breathe in the middle of a conversation. It's not weak. It's not unchristian or anything like that. It's okay. And that's why there's a song called "Breathe" on my album, because sometimes you just need to breathe. And so the hook
Mm-hmm.
literally is just saying the word "breathe."
Mm-hmm.
It's because I just feel like sometimes, like, we always feel like we got to have the right answer, or we got to know
Right.
this, we got to know that.
Right.
Sometimes we just need to breathe and just be still.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Um two things. One, uh there was an interview with hold on. Got a 5-year-old in the house. Uh, there was an interview with uh Eddie Murphy. I can remember who interviewed him. I think it was Arsenio Hall years ago. And he asked him a question, and he said that he never had a. He asked him, what was your plan if being a comedian didn't work out? And he said, I never had a plan B. This was it. I only had plan A. And what you were saying about, you think, okay, so what's my next thing? What am I gonna do if this right if my marriage? That's the thing in marriage. There is no if you're in this committed relationship, this is and this is your person, there is no
Mhm.
plan B. This is it. It's
Right.
plan A all day long. That's all there's ever gonna be. So that is really good. I like that you figured out that this was it. There was no, there is no plan B. So what am I going to do with plan A? What am I going to do to be sure that we uh are going to be able to navigate this, because nothing is perfect. There's no perfect relationship, but how are we going to navigate this to make it work for us, where we are the example for our children and those around us to see
And
what
healthy,
it's like,
you know.
right? To have a
I want my
healthy
son
marriage.
to grow up. Yeah.
Right.
Why is dad looking like that when he talks to mommy? You know,
Right.
like no. So yeah,
It
I
makes you
love that.
think. And then the other thing that you said, that you used to leave, and your wife was like, "Where are you going? You're gonna stay?" That's something that we had to go through. My husband and I was like, "Where are you?" Because he has done that. He did that before, and I was like, "Where are you going?" I mean, what?
Hey
Wait,
man, we're
what?
like, I'm about to hop in this nice car and take a drive. I'll be back.
Right?
You know?
What? No, you're not. I was like,
Right,
go to the other room. Like you said, you
right,
take a breath, take a breather, go to the other room, then we come back.
right.
But that's something you have to develop and something you have to grow into. And however you grow into, like you said, that the therapist told you, hey, just breathe, that however you got to get to that point. But we have to figure out that we can't just walk away from the thing when it gets hard. And then as Christians, there's not just in marriage, but in life, period. Sometimes we walk away from the hard thing, but God wants us to stay in the hard thing, because the promise, or the gift He has for us is on the other side of it. But if we don't
Yep,
stick and stay in it, we'll never see it. I love that. I love that. This is
I love
good. I'm
that too.
enjoying this. Okay. So I want to ask you about your artistry. What is the title of your current album, and how does it compare to your previous albums?
Yeah, so my latest album's called Pray for the Lions.
Hmm.
And my first professional album's called Honey and Vinegar. Um,
Okay.
Differences in that, Pray for the Lions. I've matured as an artist. I've matured as a person, um, and it's talking about overcoming and the fact that I am so sure of myself in God, in Christ, that I'm at a place where any obstacle that's trying to stop me or block, my marriage, my ministry, anything that God has appointed for my life, you better pray for that lion in my life. Like Kobe said, don't pray for me, pray for the bear. You better pray for that lion. Because I'm like
Hmm.
Daniel in the lion's den, when I'm praying, even, when there's lions all around me and it looks like, he's gonna fail, or oh man, this happened. Like I know that probably hurt him. It's like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter, man. Like I've overcome so much. My family's overcome so much. God has been so faithful to us. You better pray for these lions, man. You gotta have that mentality, man. Like really be a dog out here for the kingdom. Jesus was not just some soft. My pastor says like he wasn't just a tree hugger. Okay, he loved all God's creations, but he did more than just hug trees. Like he
Right.
has some grit and some vigor about him. And so have some
Hmm.
vigor about yourself. And so that's the main difference in this one, Honey and Vinegar. Honey and Vinegar is more so discussing how we need to honey is being, and there's a spoken word at the beginning of my album that breaks it down, but honey is basically encapsulating everything you do and saying love, and vinegar is accountability. So we can't just have so
Okay.
much honey, there's no accountability, vice
Hmm.
versa. You can't just be so busy, trying to teach people and correct them that you don't show them love.
Hmm.
And so that one was more so just, I would say, a just trying to really talk to the church and like, hey, it's like a evangelism, coaching, teaching type of situation. That's really what I was going through with that one. Pray for the Lions is more testifying.
Okay.
Yes.
I
So
love that.
that's the main difference.
And I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
it's more experimenting, like musically going on as well.
Okay. I love
More
that.
mainstream.
the title of the album, I love it now even more with the explanation that you better pray for the line. I love that. I need to make a note of that. I love that.
The very first song is my dad. My dad is a pastor. The
Uh-huh.
very first song is him preaching. He did his little sermonette talking about what I just described. So you got to check him out.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
That is cool. That is cool. I love that. Okay. How do you balance being an artist, husband, father, minister, youth Bible teacher? You got a 9 to 5 and you're an entrepreneur while staying spiritually grounded. That's a lot.
It is. Yes. It's not easy. I'll tell you that much. Um, all those things I mentioned earlier, self-care, allowing the iron to sharpen me, like, not feeling like I'm above my friends. And, as
Mhm.
a creative or someone with a platform, sometimes you can feel like, man, like, I can't look to anybody else other than somebody that's like, at a bigger level than me or whatever.
Mhm.
And but I have, intentionally, I think God was very intentional. Like He put people in my life that are also very strong professionals. Like one of my best friends, he has a different job now, but he was a multi-practice leader at Duke.
Okay.
Um, he led multiple practices. He's a black man, and so that's beautiful.
Mhm.
But anyways, though, how I balance it all is I got a calendar on my phone. I got a calendar on the fridge. Calendars are huge. Reminders are huge. Set
Mhm.
reminders, man. You're not, too young for reminders. Do the things your parents and grandparents told you to do. Because once you become an adult, uh, you need to stay on top of things. I got a lot going
Mhm.
on, a lot of juggling, but also recognizing sometimes I need to step back. Like I had to recently step back from one of the ministries I was involved with. I'm involved with several ministries, and one of them I recognized I wasn't bringing my full self to that, and I
Mhm.
recognized because I got so much going on, and I was like, as much as I would love to continue, I need to step back right now. I don't know if this is gonna be forever, but for right now, I just need to create that space in my life. And the leader of that ministry was very understanding. Like, let us know how we can support you. You're always a member. You can still come hang
Mhm.
out with us, but we're here for you. So, and that's beautiful. Having a church home that supports you as well.
Mhm.
That helps a lot. Where you feel refreshed every
Mhm.
time you leave church, not just drained at times. Because I'm as a minister, sometimes you can feel drained from just balancing everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, prayer, and allow God to pour into me as well. That's important too.
That is so important. I love the fact that you recognize that um, something was too much, right? It was something that become too much on your plate. I think sometimes we don't we push ourselves to a brink, if you will. But if you have it shows self-awareness and spiritual maturity to recognize when something is too much instead of keep pushing it. Because you mentioned about being refreshed and God refilling you. That's one
Mhm.
of the things that I talk about all the time about that in Psalms 23, when it talks about my cup runneth over,
Yes,
that we are supposed to it proverbially we are supposed to be pouring out of that saucer, right, where it runs out of the overflow of the cup. That's what we're supposed to pour out to people. If at any time our cup starts being depleted, then we have nothing to pour, and then who's going to pour back into us? That's why it's so important to have that community of people around us that can pour back into us, to have the church family that can pour back into us, so then we start getting empty, we can be poured back into. But then to also recognize when I've bitten off more than I can chew, so let me step back from it, and being aware of that and doing it, because that it hurts you to keep going, and then it hurts the people around you, because as you said, you're not giving your the 100%, you're not really giving to it what it deserves. I love that. We're coming down to the end, but I have a few more questions. One of them is this: for someone listening today who feels broken, stuck, or uncertain about their purpose, what encouragement would you leave them with?
yeah. If you're not in therapy, get in therapy. Um, if you don't have a church home, find the right church home for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be the same church that the most popular church is not always the best church for you. Um, just because you grew up a certain denomination, that might not be what's best for you any longer. Like maybe, you grew up a certain denomination and now that just doesn't really connect with you anymore. That's okay. So finding the right church for you, finding the right therapist for you, because taking care of your spirit and your mind is very important. Taking care of your body. When you're taking care of yourself, um, that will help you when you're feeling broken. Because a lot of times when we're broken, we detach from things that we typically do, our routines. We detach from things that bring us enjoyment, fulfillment. And
Hmm.
so finding ways to get back on that track where you have interest in participating in things again. You have interest in going out for coffee with your friends. You see the value in that, not just well, what's the point? I don't want to spend money. It's like maybe your friend, if that's the issue, maybe your friend will take care of you, but you're being, so detached and
Hmm.
negative about it. And that's because you haven't dealt with the root. So it's not your fault, but that's why you have to take care of yourself. And so that's really when you are putting yourself in position to be poured into, then God can pull you out of something place so you're not drowning.
I
So,
love that.
um,
I love that.
yeah,
That's
you
good.
have to give God space to pour into you. You have
Hmm.
to make room, just like we make room for our
Hmm.
blessings. You have to make room for Him to pour.
Hmm. That's good. You can't have your hand over the cup.
That's
In
right.
order to
Yes.
receive what he's got, you can't have your hand over the cup. That's good. I like that.
Agreed.
Are you dropping any more music this year?
So let's see the rest of this year. I have a few features that'll be coming out for a few artists uh, that have reached out to me. So I have several features. As far as my music, probably gonna ride the album out the rest of this year because I have
Mhm.
several shows coming up
Okay.
that are pretty big. And then next spring, though, is when I will begin the rollout for an EP that I'm dropping
Okay.
next spring, next summer. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool, cool. That is cool. So you mentioned that you have some shows coming up. So can you tell us about the shows or where they're gonna be?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So let's see, on June 21st, I will be at Barber Park in Greensboro, North Carolina. It starts at 2 p.m. It is the Gospel Interfaith Celebration. It's also Father's Day, so a very eventful day, Juneteenth
Mhm.
weekend, Father's Day. So I'll be out there. I'll be performing. I also have a vendor table selling my merchandise. So,
Okay.
please come holler at your boy. Also, let's see, in July, I have a few shows. July 11th and 12th, I will be at my home church I was baptized in back in Lexington, Kentucky, the State of Baptist Church. I have a concert that Saturday, and then my boy King Dane will be opening for me. Then that Sunday, I actually will be preaching for Youth and Young Adult Sunday um, at the church. And then when we come back to North Carolina that next weekend, um, I will be at Divine Restoration Worship Center in Garner on the 17th. They're having a youth worship arts night. Then I'll be in Charlotte the next day, the 18th, at 716. I'm not performing that day, but I will
Mhm.
be at the event. So, you know, I am in talks with them, and hopefully we can work something out. Because I would definitely love to partner with them on an event in the future. So I will be in the building. Let's see, and then lastly, let's see, August. I have several pending things, but
Mhm.
let's see, August. August 22nd is still pending, but I was contacted by NC State because I applied to be a performer. I was contacted by them to be a performer for Packapalooza.
Okay.
They're really big back to school event. Uh, so just finalizing details there. So Lord
That
willing,
is
we'll be able to
cool.
lock that in. So yeah,
That is cool.
excited
You are
about that.
booked and busy. That's a good thing.
Right.
That is good.
Yes.
Um, so I have two more questions. Uh, what is the favorite? What is your favorite song that you've ever wrote?
Mm, favorite song I've ever wrote. Wow. Um, man, I would have to say yeah, it's hard to pick one. just one. That's difficult. um, let's see. Secret Place is one of my favorite songs. That's on the album I just put out. United Front. That's one of my favorite songs. I have a video to that on YouTube as well.
Okay.
That's I'll give you my top three. So Secret Place, United Front, and then I would say Glory Days. That's another definitely
Okay.
one of my favorites. Yep, that's
Okay.
probably be my
Okay. So we'll have to put the link to the United Front so people can see it. Cool.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
And so, lastly, I guess this will be a dual question. How can people contact you? And is there somewhere that you haven't been that you would like to perform uh, or minister?
Yes. Okay. So where you can contact me, I am on all social platforms, but primarily I utilize TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Threads, mostly TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So you can follow me, lock in with me at Lu Bennett Official, and I believe you're gonna drop that in the comments for me.
Yes.
Um, Okay, yeah, yeah. So that's where you can follow me, contact me. Um, you can reach out to my management email, the link in my bio. I have a link to my booking form, my website. But yeah, yeah. So that's how you can find me on social media and contact me. Let's see. Also, in terms of where I would love to perform, well, I'm repping right now. My wife and I, we just got back from Aruba. I believe God's gonna do it. I would love to perform in Aruba and minister out there. That would
Okay.
be great. I would love to go to Aruba, Africa, and the West Coast. I haven't
Oh,
been to the
wow.
West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would love to go to the
Okay.
West Coast. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been such an enlightening interview. I've totally enjoyed it. And yes, I'll be sure to put all of Lou's contact information in the description, as well as a link to his video that he has on YouTube. Thank you so much, Lou, for being here today. It was such a great interview, and I really think that it has and will bless some folks. So thank you so much. And to you all, thank you for joining me for another episode of the 10 Year Soul podcast. If today's conversation encouraged you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And remember, your inner voice is your first environment tended well, because what you water grows. And until next time, keep growing and keep moving forward with purpose. Thank you so much for joining, and have a totally awesome weekend.